Inevitably, underlying instabilities began to appear. The main road. Rain drummed loudly on the roof of the Land Cruiser. Tim felt the night vision goggles pressing heavy on his forehead. He reached for the door, for the knob near his ear, adjusted the intensity. There was a brief phosphorescent flare and then shades of electronic green and black. He could see the Land Cruiser behind with Dr. Grant and Dr. Malcolm inside. Neat. Dr. Grant was staring out the front windshield toward him. Tim saw him pick up the radio from the dash. There was a burst of static, and then he heard Dr. Grant's voice. Can you see us back here? Tim picked up the radio from Ed Regis. I see you. Everything all right? We are fine, Dr. Grant. Stay in the car. We will. Don't worry. He clicked the radio off. Ed Regis snorted. It's pouring down rain. Of course we'll stay in the car, he muttered. Tim turned to look at the foliage at the side of the road through the goggles. The foliage was bright electronic green. Beyond, he could see sections of the green grayed pattern of the fence. The Land Cruisers were stopped on the downslope of a hill, which must mean they were someplace near the Tyrannosaurus area. It would be amazing to see a Tyrannosaurus with these night vision goggles. A real thrill. Maybe the Tyrannosaurus would come to the fence and look over at them. Tim wondered if its eyes would glow in the dark when he saw them. That would be neat. But he didn't see anything, and eventually he stopped looking. Everyone in the cars fell silent. The rain thrummed on the roof of the car. Sheets of water streamed down over the sides of the windows. It was hard for Tim to see out, even with the goggles. How long have we been sitting here? Malcolm asked. I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I wonder what the problem is. Maybe a short circuit from the rain, but it happened before the rains really started. There was another silence. In a tense voice, Lex said, but there's no lightning, right? She had always been afraid of lightning. And she now said nervously, squeezing her leather mitt in her hands. Dr. Grant said, what was that? We didn't quite read that. Just my sister talking. Oh, Tim again scanned the foliage but saw nothing. Certainly nothing as big as a Tyrannosaurus. He began to wonder if the Tyrannosaurus came out at night. Were they nocturnal animals? Tim wasn't sure if he had ever read that. He had the feeling that tyrannosaurs were all weather, day or night animals. The time of the day didn't matter to a tyrannosaurus. The rain continued to pour. Hell of a rain, Ed Regis said. It's really coming down. Lex said, I'm hungry. I know that, Lex, Regis said, but we are stuck here, sweetie. The cars run on electricity in buried cables in the road. Stuck for how long? Until they fix the electricity. Listening to the sound of the rain, Tim felt himself growing sleepy. He yawned and turned to look at the palm trees on the left side of the road and was startled by a sudden thump as the ground shook. He swung back just in time to catch a glimpse of a dark shape as it swiftly crossed the road between the two cars. Jesus, what was it? It was huge. It was big as the car. Tim, are you there? He picked up the radio. Yes, I'm here. Did you see it, Tim? No, Tim said. I missed it. What the hell was that? And Malcolm said, are you wearing the night vision goggles, Tim? Yes, I'll watch. Tim said, was it the Tyrannosaur? Ed Regis asked, I don't think so. It was in the road. Didn't you see it? Ed Regis said. No. Tim felt that he had missed the animal. Whatever it was, there was a sudden white crack of lightning, and his night goggles flowed bright green. He blinked with his eyes, staring and counting 1,000, 2, 1,000. The thunder crashed deafeningly loud and very close. Lex began to cry. Oh no, take it, honey. Take it easy, honey, Edwidge said. It's just lightning. Tim scanned the side of the road. The rain was coming down bad now, shaking the leaves with hammering drops. It made everything move. Everything seemed alive. He scanned the leaves. He stopped. There was something beyond the leaves. Tim looked up higher. Behind the foliage, beyond the fence, he saw a thick body with a pebbled greeny surface like the bark of a tree, but it wasn't a tree. He continued to look higher, sweeping the goggles upward. He saw the huge head of the Tyrannosaurus just standing there, looking over the fence at the two land cruisers. The lightning flashed again. The big animal rolled its head, bellowed in the glaring dark light. Then darkness and silence again, and pounding rain. Tim, yes, Dr. Grant, you see it? You see what it is? Yes, Dr. Grant. Tim had sensed that Dr. Grant was trying to talk in a way that wouldn't upset his sister. What's going on right now? Nothing, Tim said, watching the Tyrannosaurus through his night goggle. Just standing on the other side of the fence. I can't see much from here, Tim. I can see fine, Doctor again. It's just standing there. Okay, let's continue to cry, snuffling. There was another pause. Tim watched the Tyrannosaurus. The head was huge. The animal looked from one vehicle to another, then back again. It seemed to stare right at Tim. In the goggles, the eyes glowed bright green. Tim felt a chill, but then as he looked down at the animal's body, moving down from the massive head and jaws, he saw the smaller, muscular forelimb. It waved in the air, then it gripped the fence. Jesus Christ, Ed Regis said, staring out the window. The greatest predator the world has ever known, the most fearsome attack in human history. Somewhere in the back of his publicist brain, Ed Regis was still writing copies, but he could feel his knees begin to shake uncontrollably, his trousers flapping like flags. Jesus, he was frightened. He knew what a dinosaur attack was like. He knew what happened to people. He had seen mangled bodies and resulted from a raptor attack. He could picture in his mind that this was a Rex much bigger and the greatest meat eater that had ever walked the earth. Jesus, when the Tyrannosaurus roared, it was terrifying. A scream from some other world. Edry felt some spreading warmth in his trousers. He peed in his pants. He was simultaneously embarrassed and terrified. He knew he had to do something. He couldn't just stay here. He had to do something. Something. His hands were shaking, trembling against the dash. Jesus Christ, he said again. Bad language, Lex said, wagging a finger at him. Tim heard the how sound of a door opening, swung his head away from the Tyrannosaurus. The night vision goggles streaked laterally in time to see Ed Regis stepping out through the open door, ducking his head in the rain. Hey, Alex. Hey, Lex said. Where are you going? Hadrija just turned and ran in the opposite direction from the Tyrannosaurus, disappearing into the woods. The door to the Land Cruiser hung open. The paneling was getting wet. He left, Lex said. Where did he go? He left us alone. Shut the door, Tim said, but she had started to scream. He left us. He left us. Tim, what's going on? It was Dr. Grant on the radio. Tim leaned forward and tried to shut the door from the back seat. He couldn't reach the handle. He looked back at the dinosaur as lightning flashed again, momentarily silhouetting the huge black shape against the white flaring sky. Tim, what's happening? He left us. He left us. Tim blinked to cover his vision. When he looked again, the dinosaur was standing there exactly as before, motionless and huge. Rain dripped from his jaws. The forelimb gripped the fence, and then Tim realized the Tyrannosaur was holding on to the fence. The fence wasn't electrified anymore. Lex closed the door. The radio crackled. Tim, I am here, Dr. Grant. What's going on? Regis ran away. Tim said, what? Tim said, he what? He ran away. I think he saw the fence isn't electrified. Tim said, the fence isn't electrified. Malcolm said over the radio. Did he say the fence isn't electrified? Lex, Tim's had closed the door, but Lex was screaming, he left us, in a steady, momentaneous wail, and there was nothing for Tim to do but climb out of the back door into the slashing rain and shut the door for her. Thunder rumbled, and the lightning flashed again. Tim looked up and saw the Tyrannosaurus crashing down the cyclone fence with a giant hind limb. Timmy, he jumped back and slammed the door, and the sound lost in the thunderclap. The radio. Tim, are you there? He grabbed the radio. I'm here. He turned to Lex. Lock the doors. Get in the middle of the car and shut up. Outside, the Tyrannosaurus rolled its head and took an awkward step forward. The claws of its feet had caught in the grid of the flattened fence. Lex saw the animal finally and became silent. Still, she watched with wide, wide eyes. Radio crackled. Tim. Yes, Dr. Grant. Stay in the car. Stay down. Be quiet. Don't move and don't make a noise. Okay, you should be alright. I don't think it can open the car. Just quiet so you don't arouse his attention any more than necessary. Okay, Tim clicked the radio off. You hear the Lex? His sister nodded silently. She never took her eyes off the dinosaur. The dinosaur roared in the glare of the lightning. They saw it pull free of the fence and take a bounding step forward. Now it was standing between the two cars. Tim couldn't see Dr. Grant's car anymore because the huge body blocked his view. The rain in the riverless down pebble skin of the muscular hind legs. He couldn't see the animal's head, which was high above the roof line. The Tyrannosaurus moved around the side of their car. He went to the very spot where Tim had gotten off the car, where Ed Regis had gotten off the car. The animal paused there, the big head ducked down toward the mud. Tim looked back at Dr. Grant and Dr. Malcolm in the rear car. Their faces were tense as they stared forward through the windshield. The huge head raised back, jaws open, then stopped by the side windows. In the glare of lightning, they saw a beady, expressionless moving in the socket. Reptile eye moving in the socket. It was looking in the car. His sister's breath came in rag, frightened grasp. He reached out and squeezed her arm, hoping she would stay quiet. The dinosaurs continued to stare for a long time through the side window. Perhaps the dinosaur couldn't really see them, he thought. Finally, the head lifted up out of the view again. Lex whispered. It's okay, Tim whispered. I don't think it saw us. He was looking back toward Dr. Grant when a jolting impact rocked the Land Cruiser and shattered the windshield in a spider web as the Tyrannosaurus head crashed against the hood of the Land Cruiser. Tim was knocked flat on his feet. The night vision goggles slid off his forehead. He got back up quickly, blinking in darkness, his mouth warm with blood. Lex, he couldn't see his sister anywhere anymore. The Tyrannosaurus stood near the front of the Land Cruiser, its chest moving as it breathed, the forelimbs making claw movements in the air. Lex, Tim whispered. Then he heard a groan. She was lying somewhere on the floor under the front seat. Then the huge head came down, entirely blocking the shattered windshield. The Tyrannosaurus banged again on the front hood of the Lion Cruiser, and Tim grabbed the seat as the car rocked on its wheels. The Tyrannosaurus banged down twice more, denting the metal. Then it moved around the side of the car. The big the big raised tail blocked his view of all side windows. At the back, the animal snorted, a deep, rumbling growl, and blended with the thunder. It sank its jaws into the spare tire mounted on the back of the Land Cruiser. In a single head shake, tore it away. The rear of the car lifted into the air for a moment, then it thumped down with a muddy splash. Tim, Dr. Grant said, Tim, are you there? Tim grabbed the radio. We're okay, he said. There was a shrill metal scrap as claws raked the roof of the car. Tim's heart was pounding in his chest. He couldn't see anything out of the windows on the right side except pebbled leathery flesh. The dinosaur was leaning against the car, which rocked back and forth with each breath. The springs and metal cracking loudly, legs ground. Tim put down the radio and started to crawl over into the front seat. The dinosaur roared and the metal roof dented to downward. Tim felt a sharp pain in his head, tumbled onto the floor, onto the transmission bump. He found himself lying alongside Lex, and he was shocked to see the whole side of her head was covered in black. She looked unconscious. There was another jolting impact. The pieces of glass fell all around him. Tim fell all around him. He looked up and saw that the front windshield had broken out. There was just a jagged rim of glass, and beyond the big head of the dinosaur looking at him. Tim felt a sudden chill and then head rushed forward toward him. The jaws opened. There was a squeal of metal against the teeth, and he felt hot, sticking breath of the animal and a thick tongue stuck into the car through the windshield opening. The tongue slapped wetly around inside the car. He felt the hot leather of dinosaur saliva. The dinosaurs roared, a deafening sound inside the car. The head pulled away abruptly. Tim scrambled, avoiding the dent in the roof. There was still room to sit on the front seat by the passenger door. The dinosaur stood in the rain near the front fender. It seemed confused by what happened. Blood dripped freely from his jaws. The Tyrannosaur looked at Tim, cocking his head to stare with one big eye. The The head moved closer to the car, sideways, peered in, blood spattered on the dented blood then on the board of the Land Cruiser, mixing with rain. It can get to me, Tim thought. It's too big. Then the head pulled away. In the flare of lightning, he saw the leg lift up, and the world tilted crazily as the Land Cruiser slammed over its sides, windows splatting in the mud. He saw legs fell helplessly against the window. Then he fell down beside her, banging his head. Tim felt dizzy. Then the Tyrannosaurus clamped onto the window frame, and the whole Land Cruiser was lifted up in the air and shaken. Timmy, she legs shrieked so near to his ear that it hurt. She was suddenly awake, and he grabbed her as the Tyrannosaurus crashed down again. Tim felt a stabbing pain in his side, and his sister fell on top of him. The car went up, tilting crazily. Lex shouted Timmy, and he saw the door gave away beneath her, and she fell out of the car into the mud. But Tim couldn't answer because in the next instant everything swung crazily. He saw the trunks of the palm trees sliding down past him, moving sideways through the air. He glimpsed the ground very fast, and the hot roar of the dinosaur blazing eye, the tops of the palm trees, and then with a metallic scraping shriek, the car fell from the dinosaur's jaws, a sickening fall. Tim's stomach heaved in the moment before the world became totally black and silent. In the other car, Malcolm gasped, Jesus, what happened to the car? Grant blinked, his eyes lightning faded. The other car was gone. Grant couldn't see it. He peered forward, trying to see through the rain-streaked windshield. The dinosaur's body was so large it was probably just blocking. No, another flash of lightning. He saw clearly. The car was gone. What happened, Malcolm said. I don't know. Faintly over the rain, Grant heard the sound of the little girl screaming. The dinosaur was standing in darkness on the road up ahead, but they could see well enough to know it was bending over now, sniffing the ground or eating something on the ground. Can you see? Malcolm said, squinting. Not much, no. The rain pounded on the roof of the car. He listened for the little girl, but he couldn't hear her anymore. The two men sat in the car. Was it the girl? Malcolm said finally. It sounded like the girl. It did. Yes, was it? I don't know, Grant said. He felt a sweeping fatigue overtake him. Blurred through the rainy windshield, the dinosaur was coming toward them. Cars, slow, ominous strides coming right toward them. Malcolm said, at times like this, one feels, well, perhaps extinct animals should be left extinct. Don't you have that feeling now? Yes, Grant said. It was a feeling. He was feeling his heart pounding. Do you have any suggestions about what we do now? I can't think of a thing, Grant said. Malcolm twisted the handle, kicked open the door, and ran. But even as he did, Grant saw he was too late. The tyrannosaur too he was too late. The tyrant was too close. There was another crack of lightning in the instant of glaring white light. Grant watched in horror as the dinosaur roared and left forward. Grant was not clear what exactly happened. What happened next? Malcolm was running, his feet splashing in the mud. Dinosaur alongside him ducked his massive head, and Malcolm was tossed into the air like a small doll. But then Grant too was out of the car too, feeling the cold rain slashing his face. The tyrannosaur had turned its back to him, huge tail swinging through the air. Grant was tensing to run for the woods when suddenly the tyrannosaur spun back to face him and roared. Grant froze. He was standing beside the passenger door of the Land Cruiser. Drenched in rain, he was completely exposed. The dinosaur no more than 8 feet away. The big animal roared again at close range. The sound was terrifyingly loud. Grant felt himself shaking with cold and fright. He pressed his trembling hands against the metal of the door panel to stay steady, to steady them. The dinosaur roared once more, and it did not attack. It cocked its head and looked with first one eye, then the other at the Land Cruiser, and it did nothing. It just stood there. What was going on? The powerful jaws opened and closed. The dinosaurs bellowed angrily, and their big clawed leg handed came up and crashed down on the roof of the car. The claw slid off with a metal screech, barely missing Grant as he stood there, still unmoving. The foot splashed in the mud, the head dug down in a slow arc, and the animal inspected the car, snorting. It peered into the window, a front windshield, then moving toward the rear, it banged the passenger door shut and moved right toward Grant as he stood there. Grant was dizzy with fear, his heart pounding inside his head. With the animal so close, he could smell the rotten flesh in the mouth. He could the sweet flesh, blood smell, the sickening stench of the carnivore. He tensed, his body awaiting the inevitable. The big head slipped past him toward the rear of the car. Grant blinked. What had happened? Was it possible the Tyrannosaur hadn't seen him? It seemed if it hadn't, but how could be that be? Grant looked back to see the animal sniffing the rear-mounted tire. It nudged the tire with its snout and then had swung back again and it approached Grant. The animal stopped. The black flaring nostril just inches away. Grant felt the animal's startling hot breath on his face, but the Tyrannosaur wasn't sniffing like a dog. It was breathing, and if anything, it seemed puzzled. No, the Tyrannosaur couldn't see him. No, if he stood motionless, he in a detective deduct, deducted academic corner of his mind, he found and in a detached academic corner of his mind, he found an explanation for that, a reason why the laws opened before him, the opened before him, the massive head raised. Grant squeezed his fists together, bit his lip, trying to remain motionless, to make no sound. The dinosaur bellowed in the night air, but now Grant was beginning to understand. The animal couldn't see him, but it suspected he was there somewhere and was trying with its bellowing to frighten Grant into some revealing movement. So, as long as he stood his ground, Grant realized he was invincible. In a last gesture of frustration, the big hind leg lifted up and kicked up the Land Cruiser over, and Grant felt searing pain and surprising sensation of his own body flying through the air. It seemed to be happening very slowly. He had plenty of time to feel the world turn colder and watch the ground rush up to him to strike him in the face into blackness. Sorry if I made mistakes, but that was my first time ever trying to record a reading of a book. So, thank you if you've made it to here. That was my reading of the Tyrannosaurus outbreak from its paddock. Thank you.